Hello friends, and welcome to Cooking with Mr. Jack. That's me. Today we're going to be jumping in with a delicious entree, a chicken pot pie, and this is to celebrate Great American Pie Month. So I've got all my ingredients assembled. Let's run through our list to make sure we've got everything all set to go. We have butter, check. We have a sweet onion. We have carrots and celery. This recipe calls for 3 garlic cloves. I have 1 gigantic clove, so that's gonna count for 3 garlic cloves. We've got some all-purpose flour back here. We've got chicken broth and heavy cream. We've got some fresh thyme, some kosher salt and black pepper. We've got some shredded chicken. So the website I got this from is called preppykitchen.com. The chef there actually recommends using a rotisserie chicken. I cooked up some chicken breast earlier and just shredded that. So that's how I'm doing it. You can do whatever's easiest for you. We're going to add some frozen peas, and then we have some pie crust. So I made pastry pie crust from scratch, following a recipe also from preppykitchen.com. If you want to be ambitious and do that, you can go ahead and do that. It's super easy if you want to give it a try and you've got the ingredients at home. That recipe is 2.5 cups flour and 1 cup butter and some salt. Blend it up together so the butter gets really itty bitty, crumbly, and then you add a little water until it can form a dough. It's not a wet dough. If that is a little too much work for you, then you can buy pie crust. Pillsbury makes one, there are some generic kinds. So you don't have to make the pie crust, but I did. You do you, friends, whatever works in your kitchen. I'm gonna jump in, prepping my ingredients. I'm gonna wait to start my stovetop and preheating until we're a little closer to that stage in the game. But I have a skillet / saucepan ready to go for the pie filling prep work. And then I have a pie dish waiting in the wings to assemble my pie once we're ready for that stage. So let's jump in, chopping these up, getting these ready to go into our pan. I'm gonna start by mincing up my garlic. Garlic minced, we're gonna throw it right into a bowl so we can add all of these into the pot. You might be thinking this starts a lot like the soups we've been... That's my cat. You might be thinking to yourself, this starts a lot like soups, and you'd be right. We're gonna be starting by prepping all of our ingredients, adding them to a dish. The difference is going to come, let's chop our celery. We're gonna be adding some flour to make a kind of roux, which is gonna really thicken everything up. And that will make the insides of our pie filling thicker and more congealed, if you will. Moving right along to our carrots. Last but certainly not least, our onion. Chopping, we're going to move to our stovetop. We're going to add half a stick of butter to our skillet, add in all of these, saute them for about 5 minutes. Then we're going to start adding in our flour and our chicken broth. Psst, get out of here. Come on, cat, get down. Saute these for about 5 minutes until things start to soften up. Okay, I'm ready to add in 1/3 cup flour. So what this is going to do is essentially make a roux, which is a fat and flour, in this case butter. And this is going to thicken all this up so that later it won't be a soup in the middle of our pie. You can already see how that's helping everything stick together a little more. So now we're going to slowly pour in our chicken broth and heavy cream. So we're doing 1 3/4 cup of chicken broth. And just nice and slow. Don't get any splattering. So that was 1 3/4 cup chicken broth and 1/2 cup heavy cream. So we want to bring this to a simmer, which is beautifully already happening here. So we're going to continue simmering just until this is thickened up a bit. While this simmers, I'm going to add in my fresh thyme, my sea salt, and pepper. This has been simmering for about 8 minutes. I'm pretty happy with the texture now. So I'm going to add in my shredded chicken, my frozen peas, and then remove it from the heat so that it can cool out while I roll up my dough and preheat my oven. So I didn't say earlier, the recipe calls for 3 cups shredded chicken. I used 2.5 chicken breasts personally, but use as much as you like. I'm going to add in my frozen peas and then remove this from my heat. Almost forgot my salt and pepper. So not only am I going to remove this from the heat, but what the recipe recommends is putting it into a bowl to allow it to cool, because when we put this into our pie crust, we don't want to melt the pastry pie crust, because again, it's mostly butter and flour, and that would make for a sad chicken pot pie. So now is a great time to turn on your oven to start preheating. We're going to put this to the side, roll out our pastry dough, and get that into our pie dish. Okay friends, my oven is preheating to 425 degrees. My pie filling is cooling. It is time to roll out our pie crust. So I have a pastry mat here. I'm just gonna lightly flour that surface. The recipe recommends a 9-inch pie dish. I have a 12-inch, so I'm gonna roll this crust out as large as I can, but make sure you're doing what you need to do for your circumstances. I'll make sure everything is generously floured so that there's no stickage and that we don't have a sad pie crust. I hope that I've done my job making this well and that I don't have a really hard time. You want to make sure you're rolling your dough out as evenly as you can. I like to try to stay centered so that the ends don't get really, really thin. And I just keep rotating. Push here, push there, so that I don't stress the dough by pulling and pushing too much all at once. Okay friends, moment of truth. I hope that I've rolled this out enough. I'm going to roll this onto my rolling pin here. When you're happy with your size, and transfer it to my pie dish. Woo, maybe. And we keep our fingers crossed. we did it, friends. So you want to kind of let it drape itself into the dish. You don't want to force it too much. Let it find its way in. So we're going to put this off to the side, roll out our next dough, and then we can assemble this pie. I have to say, whenever I do these videos, I'm always wondering how many people are watching at home going, "No, don't do that." Know that I cook for love, that I don't claim to be any kind of master chef. I would love tips and pointers in the comments if you have them. Nobody is so skilled that they can't learn new things. Definitely not me when it comes to cooking. This is looking about ready. So let's put our pie filling in and then put this baby together. This is looking wonderful and smelling even better. Transferring, take 2. There we go. And over. Cut off some of this excess, crimp our edge, really make sure this is sealed up. Okay friends, so all I'm doing is I am tucking both edges under, and then I'm gonna give it a nice little crimp just to make it pretty before I put it in the oven. So I definitely had enough pie crust. The recipe suggests using a 9-inch pie dish. I'm using a 12-inch pie dish. I had lots of excess. You saw me cutting all that off. So if you are using a 9-inch and you do decide to make your own, make sure you roll it to your desired thickness. You could save the excess to make tarts. I'm gonna be real honest with you. I just asked my roommate into the room in between cuttings and asked him what he would do. And he said his parents save it and make tarts. So that's what I'm telling you to do now, because why not? I'm gonna cut some vents in the top here. Then I'm gonna give this a brush with heavy cream just to make it a little prettier. Just a few vents for while it's cooking. And this is just heavy cream, giving it a little brush. We're going to put this in the oven for 20 minutes. At 425. Then we're gonna reduce heat to 350 and cook it for about another 40 minutes until our crust is golden brown and we're happy with the way everything looks. This step with the brushing is completely optional. It's just to give it a little finishing touch. Okay, I've given it a brush with some heavy cream. Again, that's completely optional. We're going into the oven for 20 minutes before we reduce heat and cook for maybe an additional 40. I'll check back with you in a little bit, friends. So my pie baked 20 minutes at 425 degrees. Then I lowered the temperature to 350, and my oven's pretty unevenly temperature. So I rotated my pie and it's cooked for about another 40 minutes and I'm pretty happy with how it looks. So let's get this out of the oven. Delicious. I cannot wait to cut into this. Make sure your oven's turned off. I can see a little bubbling over here. That's a pretty good sign that it cooked through. Now the longer you let this sit, the more the middle is going to solidify, so it won't be as runny. I'm not that patient though. And that was a total disaster. So I probably should have waited a little longer. This doesn't look so beautiful the way it came out, but I cannot wait to get a taste. Everything smells so wonderful. The crust looks absolutely perfect. Let's see. I'm very, very happy with this. Please let me know if you try this at home. Let me know if there are other recipes you'd like to see the library bring to you. Check out all the other programs happening at the libraries in your neighborhood. And stay safe and healthy, friends. See you soon.